Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and Nomar Slevik is our guest in the hot seat. We're getting into UFOs over Maine and much more with Nomar, as I can't wait to have him on. If you hear me yelling, screaming, or fist pumping or swearing, it's because the Canucks and Oilers are playing Game 5 tonight, and they're about to go into the third period tied at 2. Ugh. Yeah, white knuckles right now. White knuckles. Let's get to all of you. We got W. Decker in the gold medal position, and thank you, W. Decker, for also kicking off this super chat tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio, my friend. Deidre has the silver with JSCO taking home a nice bronze medal tonight. Sitting in fourth place, we got Race Fan, Leafy Nebula, Corey, Cosmic Joe, and Lee the Bee. How you doing? Melvin from Mars, Karen in the Woo Train. Mr. Catfish is here. Mr. Catfish will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Continuing on, we got Brown Dwarf. How you doing, buddy? And he's pissing me off already. Evan Walters has returned. Says, you're all pissing me off. Yeah, you're pissing me off, too. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Puck Elf, how you doing? And as we continue on with the roll call, we say hello next to number 21 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is, everyone. Moving on, Tim Mothman and his goatee, Luscious Jewels, Mama Catherine. Mwah! I love you, my dear. Thank you for the message this morning. CJ Barry, welcome back to SOR. As we continue on with roll call here tonight, who's up next? We got Ginger Turtle. Good to see you. And who's next? Major Lee. Noble Patrick, how are you? Hi, Paramarv. And Eternity Eternal. Good to see you all. And who's next here? Let's just scroll on down a tad bit. Richard Steele is here. Richard Steele will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. He does not make eye contact. No eye contact. You make eye contact, he'll rip that autograph right out of your hands. Continuing on, Thomas Rock, Richard Elmore, Swamp Dweller. How you doing, Swampy? Nice to see you, buddy. I got to get a hold of you in the next day or two. I need you to do a couple of recordings for me, if you don't mind. Chillgasm, Christine Lynn, good to see you both. And Cosmic Joe, thank you for that awesome super chat, my man. Very much appreciate the love and support, Joe. Greatly appreciated. Moving on, Mr. Cowley, welcome to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his Spaced Out Radio. Aloha, Dave, Glenn John McEnroe, the pride of Wimbledon, and purple-haired Pixie Lara. Good to see you all. Pam Harris, thank you for joining us. Hi, Ann B. and Dragonfly. Good to see you both. Sleepy Howl, how are you? Welcome to the show. Marty Burback, nice to have you back, my friend. Continuing on here, Chris Teen, nice to see you. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for coming on in. And Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got aliens. Yeah, you do. Michael Fontaine, Digger Dog. Nice to see you both. Continuing on with roll call here. Who's next? Who is next? Tracy Benna. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Here we go. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio Tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in here on the show as we have Nomar Slevik on as a guest tonight as we await the arrival of Bill WD-40 to lube us up for tonight's show. And there he is, kids. He is lubing us up as we speak because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any rigidness. So Bill lubes us up for it. Hi, me Woykin, Rose Brooks, Moody Mongol. Nice to see you all. Derek and the Woo Poo, how are you? Nice to have you here. All right, we got 30 seconds before we launch. The filtered one, Mindy, is back. And don't forget, the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Yep, it is a good show tonight. I'm pumped up for it. I hope you are too, because we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. And we get going right now. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It's going to be a fun show tonight. We're getting into the UFO topic. Author, researcher, and a man of many hats, including a top hat. Nomar Slevik is here tonight to show off his beard and his research. You won't see the beard on radio, but that's okay. I promise you it's a good one. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing has another report for us, along with Jackie Harmon joining us for the UFO report. And it's Dave 101 night. So let's get started, shall we? Nomar Slevik is an independent creator, researcher, and investigator in numerous aspects of the paranormal. He delights in sharing stories through different mediums such as books, documentaries, and podcasts. He has shared his work with hundreds of thousands of enthusiasts and has maintained a steady output of material for over 20 years. Slevik has been fascinated by all things paranormal since childhood when he had a UFO encounter at just 4 years old. His life's passion has been to research, investigate, write, and share UFO and extraterrestrial encounters from everyday people in a way that conveys the human element, profoundly strange encounters. All right, my friend, it's good to have Nomar Slevik back on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, Nomar? Good to have you back.
Dave, so good to be back. I'm lubed up and I'm ready to go and to talk to you about UFOs.
Bill WD-40 provides some good lube for this show.
Yeah, it was really good.
Absolutely. Hey, 4 years old, man.
Yeah.
How do you tell a jet aircraft from a UFO at 4 years old?
Well, because it was a little bit more different than that. I was sleeping and a loud noise woke me up. I don't know if it's 10 o'clock at night or 3 in the morning. I just know it's dark and something woke me up. I'm looking around for an explanation, and I start hearing taps at my window, and then I see the sky light up, and I was like, oh, a thunder and lightning storm. Thunder woke me up. So I kneel up on my bed to watch the lightning. Even at that age, I knew you would see lightning for, a split second. So I'm watching, And just after a moment or so, there was this really disturbing lightning bolt. Like if I were to ask you to draw a lightning bolt, you would draw that jagged yellow line. I saw that stuck in a cloud. That's how I perceived it as a child, and it's how my adult mind remembers it. But it was a lightning bolt stuck in a cloud, and there was electricity coming off of it, and there was booms associated with it. And then the next thing I know, I'm falling asleep, and I wake up the next morning. I go to the bathroom. I'm walking from the bathroom back to my bedroom, and I can see out my bedroom window, and the lightning bolt is still there. So I go downstairs. I get my father. I bring him upstairs to look at this thing in the sky, and it's gone. And I'm trying to explain to him about the thunder and the lightning and the rain. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. And he kind of, pats my head, as adults do when a 4-year-old's like, just jabbering away. But I must have been pretty insistent because he had to kneel down, get on my level, hands on my shoulders, and was like, buddy, it didn't even rain last night. Like, I'm not sure what you saw, Oh, okay. And being 4 years old, the next thing caught my attention and I forgot all about it. Well, a couple of weeks later, I'm being woken up again in the middle of the night. But this time it's my dad waking me up. And he carries me downstairs, and I can see my mom is shoving my sister into like her winter coat and, putting a hat on her. She does the same thing to me. And then my dad picks me up, takes me outside, and my head's buried in his chest because it's freezing. And he's like, you got to look up, buddy. Come on. So finally I take my head out of his chest and I look up and I see this crazy display of lights that a ton of Americans saw this past week. It was the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. And I didn't even get to see them this time. It was cloudy in my area. It sucked. I was very upset about that. But I saw them when I was 4 years old. It was the only time I've seen them. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. And seeing all those pictures last week was crazy. And definitely brought back the memories. So anyway, being such a young age and seeing two really strange things in the sky at that age, I think created some sort of core memory or something. And it let me know that weird things happen in the sky and I should probably pay attention. So I've been paying attention ever since. And just by simply looking up, I've seen a lot of weird stuff. And I talk to other people who've seen a lot of weird stuff. And I share all of our stories, through the written word and through podcasts. And, but that was a catalyst, 4 years old.
Wow. I mean, the fact that you had such recall on that at such a young age, I mean, it must have really affected you as a young guy, not really knowing what this was all about.
Yeah, because I didn't even put two and two together. Like when I was 4, I wasn't like, oh, I'm seeing a UFO. Or, or a couple of days later, I'm like, oh, I saw a UFO. I just thought I saw weird lightning, And it wasn't until I was in my like mid to later teens that I kind of put two and two together. That's when I was really into like taking books out on the UFO phenomena, like from the school library or going to the book fairs at school and trying to find paranormal books. And if there was a UFO one, I'd buy it. And, so I was really into it at that point. And I was like, I wonder if when I was 4 years old, if that's the first time I saw a UFO, because lightning bolts don't get stuck in clouds, And so I'm thinking at that time, I was like, I bet that was a UFO, and I've come to believe now, I'm sitting here at 46 years old saying, yeah, that I'm pretty sure that was a UFO.
You have taken such a love to this subject over the last 40 plus years, where you've made it your passion, your job, your desire to tell people stories.
Yeah.
Why is it important, in your opinion, as a creator, to get these stories out there?
There's a few different reasons. The first one, and the most important one, in my opinion, is seeing a UFO. While maybe people like you and I think that's really cool, it's not cool for everybody. Not everybody has a great experience with a paranormal encounter. And if I can be a non-judgmental ear and show them kindness while they're telling me their story, I think that does a lot to help their psyche. A lot of trauma is developed due to seen something so extraordinary. There's a lot of trauma associated with people who think that they've been abducted. I myself have my own traumas, but the catalysts weren't extraterrestrial, but I do suffer from anxiety and depression and sometimes suicidal ideation, and abductees, experiencers of all kinds will have those same or similar symptoms. So if I can be, someone of kindness and someone they can confide in to tell a story, then I want to be that person for them. And a lot of times they allow me to share the story publicly, either in a book or a podcast or something like that. But sometimes they don't, and I won't. But that's the most important part, is to just show these people kindness. And I also let them know that there's probably other people out there who haven't been able to tell their story yet, and they might read yours and feel that it's relatable, and they won't feel so alone. And I think that's a really big deal too.
I love the fact that you're focusing on this. I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No.
But the reason why I love it is because I love storytelling too.
Yeah.
I love hearing people's encounters, their sightings, their phenomena that they have, because everybody's phenomena seems to be different. It may be similar, but it's always different. It's never the same thing between two people. Even if they see the same thing at the same time, they're actually seeing something different, as weird as that sounds. And, I look at the UFO field now, Nomar, that has changed so much. The entire landscape has changed so much and so quickly in the last 7 years.
It has.
That there are many people out there now who absolutely are done with the stories. They're done with the anecdotal evidence of people saying I was abducted by aliens, or I had a UFO landing in the backyard of my farm, or whatever it may be. They just seem so done with that. Why is it still important to tell those stories, knowing that there's so much contradiction and animosity towards the experiencer now?
The experiencer, in my opinion, is the most important part of this whole phenomenon. It's an experiencer, especially in the field of ufology, has more often than not, basically 7 years ago and back, have had nothing but scrutiny and ridicule about their sightings. And these are real people that are having real encounters. I don't know what it is, but I believe, 90% of these people, what they tell me. And a very real thing is happening to them, and they've been dismissed or ridiculed, or they feel they have been silenced themselves because they don't feel like they can come forward. And it's important to get these things out into the open. A, it's a matter of historical record, in my opinion. And B, I think it's really important to get this out here because it's not always about the nuts and bolts of ufology and disclosure. I don't know if we'll ever get any sort of official disclosure. It seemed like we were kind of heading that way, but, this latest report, they're still saying, there's still nothing there, like it's really frustrating. So I don't care about it. I care about the person and the individual, and I want them to feel heard, and I want them to know that their story is handled tenderly and with care, and hopefully somebody else can relate to it,
Well, you hope that relation happens. But what do you think about that idea, though, that these are just stories? There's not any information. There isn't any evidence.
Yeah.
People forget to pull their cameras out when Bigfoot's walking by eating an ice cream cone with his buddy Dog Man on a leash. Okay, I mean, they expect you to put trail cameras up in your bedroom. I don't know about you, but I would feel pretty uncomfortable taking pictures of myself in the buff with a trail cam.
Yeah.
This is just the way it is. But they're expecting that. They're expecting critical thinking.
Yeah. And I feel critical thinking is happening, and I think it's happening on the side of the experiencer. And I also think it's happening with a lot of researchers as well. Believe me, there's a whole lot of researchers where that's not happening, but I don't focus on that. I like to keep my head down, do my work with the experiencers that I have the privilege of talking to. And then I release whatever medium I can at the time to get these stories out there, but it's, I don't have answers for a lot of that because I don't pay attention to it. I'm not about disclosure. And, Grush has said some really, really phenomenal things. And on that side of ufology, he's not backing it up with anything either. He keeps saying he can't talk about this, he can't talk about that, his hands are tied. And ultimately that's, frustrating for us as well. But, he's saying some extraordinary claims and they're interesting and fun to listen to, but there's nothing that he can do to back any of that up either, And for me, I would rather listen to an experiencer. It's fun to get somebody who's been in the military or, somebody who's been in law enforcement or something like that to tell a story. But when it gets to that point with me, they're a human and an experiencer. And that's what I care about. And, to get that story out there.
I do too. And I think we need more of it. I really do think we need more people to be brave enough to come on and tell people like you, tell people like me what they are encountering. It's actually a very brave moment for many of them.
It's so brave, and it can also help them be empowered or unlock an empowerment that they didn't even know was inside of them. And there has been some people where we've left each other, like physically we've left after an interview, and I get a phone call or a message not too long after, and they're like, thank you so much for listening. It feels like there's been a weight lifted off my shoulder. I feel so much better. And that's an empowerment you can't get very often when you're struggling, with this type of trauma, so to be able to unlock, an empowerment like that, and relief like that, I mean, geez, it's not anything I take lightly, And there's some people I've talked to. I mean, I've cried with people. There's been people on the brink of suicide that I've talked to. And, it's while they're cool stories and, I have a lot of fun with it, it's that's the last thing I'm thinking about when I'm face to face with an experiencer. It's about, hearing them and listening and, shutting up and just letting them talk,
Yeah, I can totally hear where you're going with that because, I think the most powerful words you can give an experiencer is, I believe you.
Yeah.
And I think that the power of that statement is so strong with a lot of people. Because the people who are having these experiences, never mind just UFOs and aliens, but whether it's a cryptid sighting or they're living in a haunted hell for themselves where they can't sleep at night because the ghosts and spirits are keeping them awake. People don't know what it's like. The majority of us do not know what that is like, and to be tortured by it.
And to still have to live every day like everything's fine. And, think about all of these sexual assault victims that have to do the same thing every day. And all the, the LGBTQ plus community or POCs or that have to live with how they're treated every day. It's awful, and people who experience things like this it's also an awful experience, and it sucks to have to, live your life that way. And if I can be a little bit of help in some of that, I'm all for it. And I'm not saying I'm out here solving anybody's problems or anything. I'm just a kind ear, and I'm non-judgmental, and I keep it moving.
What is the most powerful thing someone has told you that blew your mind? We got about 5 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the bottom.
Sure. I would say, I guess I've been told a lot of powerful things, but one of the most powerful things came after the story. This woman was sitting in front of me, and she just got done telling me, about 6, 7, 8 encounters that she had. We'd been sitting together for 2.5, 3 hours, having coffee at a diner, and she looked at me when it was done, and her eyes were welled up with tears, and she's like, why me? And I was straight up with her and I said, I have no idea. I don't know. But what I do know is that if you allow me to share your stories, somebody else who's asking the same question might read your story and not feel so alone. And I think that's pretty cool. And that's about all I can offer you as well, you know. And it wasn't the answer she was looking for, but she deeply appreciated it. She knows what it's like to feel alone, to feel crazy. And to know that she could potentially help somebody else was a good comfort to her. And I really appreciated that. And that has stuck with me. That, you know, we're going on 10 years from that conversation. And again, it's like yesterday. I remember it, you know.
I had a gentleman who was, I always keep his name out of it because he asked me not to keep his name, but I had a gentleman a number of years ago threatening to, end himself, to put it politically correct. And the reason why was he was a big, tough prison guard, and he worked in a maximum security prison. Had to be tough, had to be on and always sharp with his senses all the time. Here's the problem. He started getting abducted, and it was horrific abductions by grays, and it started happening almost every night to the point where he couldn't sleep anymore. And this was month after month after month, and after about 3-4 months, he was just feeling all alone, and it's like, I got to do something. So it was either that night take the gun out of his holster, or hop on Google and try and find some answers. And as he's Googling, coincidentally, he found my show. And he's tuned in, he started listening, and realized very quickly that there were other people like him. And it helped him. And to this day, like, I never know if he's listening or not. Usually he is, but he's never in the chat room.
Yeah.
But I mean, this guy, I remember talking to him for hours regarding this situation, and he just could not help it. And he felt horrible. He felt like he was letting his world down, all because he had no control of what was happening at night. And here's a big, buff, 270-pound man who throws around, murderers and the biggest scum on this planet on a daily basis. And he's crying like a baby to me because these little 4-5 foot grays are controlling his life.
Yeah. Awful. But amazing. I'm so glad he found your show. Wow.
Well, so am I.
Yeah.
So am I. But I mean, that's just the power of our message that we are trying to give out.
Yeah.
Not me personally with SOR, but people like you, like me, and the hundreds of thousands of others who are doing the same thing.
Yeah. Like there is somebody that's willing to listen to you, and there is somebody willing to not judge you by what you're saying, by what you've been through.
We got about a minute to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Author, researcher Nomar Slevik is our guest tonight on the show. You have a keen interest in UFOs and alien abductions. And why do you think this is something that has really taken a turn for you in your research and taking this so seriously and bringing it to the public?
It's the experiencer. It always goes back to the experiencer. Even back 20 years ago when I was like, I want disclosure and, tell the world what's going on. Then, this is BS and we can take it. You should tell us. By talking, each experiencer brought me closer and closer and closer. And eventually I side with the experiencer, and
right.
It's all about them,
All right, Nomar, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Nomar's website is slevikstore.company.site. If you want to check out his books, if you want to check out his swag, this is Spaced Out Radio. And when we return, more UFO talk with Nomar Slevik right here on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, buddy. I'm going to need a favor from you.
Yeah.
I'm getting an echo on your end.
Oh,
I don't know if your microphone is picking up through your headphones or
maybe so.
testing 1, 2.
Check, check, check.
It's a little. I can hear it when I'm talking.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what it is. You have an external speaker
I'm
on.
going to try something here. Bear with me.
While you're doing that, let's say hello to Ann Joanne, Stargazer. Good to see you guys. I don't hear it now.
Audio.
See how we are living? How you doing? Sleepy Howl, good to have you here. Oh, now I got it again.
Check, check, check. You still got it?
Let me hear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's a
Dang.
little bit louder on my end. It's weird. Some people are saying, "Oh, that was loud." Do you have an
Sorry.
external speaker on? Hi, Vanessa. I think that's what it is.
I did. Well, I am just for a split second, but I'm switching back here.
Okay.
And let me turn the mic down a little. Check, check, check.
Testing 1, 2. It's still there, but that's okay. We'll figure it out.
Check, check, check.
Okay, right there, I got nothing. I can't hear anything.
Okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you, but I'm not hearing me now.
All right, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, knuckle biter right now.
Your game.
Yeah, 2-2 with 8:21 to go. Oh.
Well, hopefully people could still hear what was going on.
Oh yeah, they could hear it. It wasn't loud. It was just like in the background. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just enough.
Just enough. How's the looping going over there, Bill WD-40? Let us know. You don't mind? JKGN, how you doing? Right. Cancel that. You got about 2 minutes here.
Okay.
Who else has joined us here? As for Matt, I need you there, man. I need you watching the game for me. I'm watching on Twitter, and Twitter used to actually be good for carrying sports and give you a lot more updates. Now they kind of calmed it down a little bit. Magneticus Attractus, Sierra, welcome to SOR chat. And who else is here? Sasquatch Gee, how you doing? Morris Van Busker, good Dutch kid right there. All right, he'll give you lend you his wooden shoes. Yeah, he will.
I wish I could see the chat. I'm not signed in.
If you go to the right-hand corner where it says private chat and then comments, click on that. You'll be able to see the chat there. Nice. Sightings on 18 wheels. Welcome to SOR chat. If you're in your semi-truck right now, please give us a honk. We'd appreciate that. Okay, we got about 45 seconds. I knew this one was going to go to overtime. You can feel overtime coming. Hot damn. 6:17, still tied at 2. Oh, it's killing me right now. Killing me. Thank you to W. Decker and Cosmic Joe for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support, everyone. It's a great way to support what we do. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag. No ugly swag there. And if you're new, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Only thing I ask, hit that subscribe button. And you can find us on every major podcast network as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got some good swag there for you. Check it on out. A plethora of features, as we like to say. A plethora. My favorite word. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Nomar Slevik is here. He's got a couple of good books out. UFOs over Maine. We only come out at night. A lot of fun there, as well as Granite Skies, Otherworldly Encounters, a strange trilogy. This man is always busy. He's always writing, always researching. Nomar, welcome back.
Thanks so much.
We're talking about experiencers in the first half hour, and you have a book that is celebrating a 10th anniversary. It's UFOs over Maine. And what makes this exciting? What makes this book intriguing?
This book in particular is the UFO book I've always wanted to write. When it originally came out in 2014, it actually took me like 6 years to write because, I was young, I'm an idiot, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm trying to write a book and a manuscript and, I'm trying to put things together. I finally kind of get my stuff together enough to be able to submit manuscripts to a few different places. Denial. Sometimes I never hear back. Anyways, the book finally comes out and it's 1/3 of what it really was. The editing decisions and things like that from the publisher, and they're lovely people, and they got to do what they got to do as well. New author, and I understand how all that stuff goes. But this book, what I decided to do for the 10-year anniversary 2 years ago, I decided to completely dismantle the first book. I read it back through. If you've ever looked or listened or watched any of your old work, especially 8-10 years old, you probably cringe. I did when I read that book back. And I knew I had to rewrite it. I had to find more information. I had to put more encounters into it. So it's completely rewritten. It's completely revamped. There were probably 20 encounters in the original one. This one has almost 200. And it's got everything from creatures, Men in Black encounters, UFO landings, the craziest of stories that I could find. And the witnesses, I re-interviewed a lot of witnesses, ones that would allow me to anyways. And it was an amazing, rigorous process. But to go from like 130 pages to 440 pages for this new 10th anniversary edition, it's just the ultimate book for UFOs in the state of Maine. And really, in talking about a lot of these stories, I do compare them to a lot of stories that are known nationally or internationally, so there's a lot of references made to other identifiable, recognizable things. But that's really the deconstruction and then the reconstruction of the book in a nutshell.
The fact that you concentrated on the state of Maine is interesting to me because Maine has seen a lot of UFO flybys and flyovers, most famously Shag Harbor in 1967, where even though that incident happened in Canadian waters, it flew over Maine before crashing into the harbor, and both Canadian and American Navy ships ended up in the area trying to search for this thing. I mean, why was it important to tell the story of UFO sightings over Maine?
It's my home state. I love it to death. And to generally speak about the people of Maine, so many of them are reserved. So many of them don't want to be looked at as crazy, or because we're so far north that we're bumpkins, and we're not connected to the rest of the world, and we are. Technology is in Maine. And a lot of the military bases in Maine, especially in the 60s and 70s, had nuclear storage areas, and there was a lot of concentration in those places during those years, with a lot of UFO sightings, especially by military personnel. And Maine, for me, it's still a place of mystery. It's the home state of Stephen King. It's it's a place that has been spoken about on a global scale to be a frightening place where strange things happen, and I wholeheartedly embrace it and love that aspect of Maine. That's not all Maine has to offer, but it's an aspect of it that I fully embrace and love.
Are there a lot of UFO sightings there? Considering you're right
Yeah,
on along the Atlantic Ocean, you
yeah,
have a lot of, and for some reason, a lot of these craft on the East Coast seem to come from the province of Manitoba and then fly over the East Coast, from the Dakotas to Ohio and Michigan
right.
and Wisconsin and into Maine and New York and all of those states that are in that upper part. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, even the Kecksburg incident was seen, starting over Canada and eventually crashing in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, yeah. I I can't say what brings them here. I don't know if there's something about the East Coast waters. I don't know if there's something about the minerals in our soil. I don't know if it's still the lingering aspect of the military bases of the past. But what I do know is that there's out of everything that I've researched, which is approximately 3,000 encounters, and not all of them, I would say less than half have been actually reported. There are reports that have never been brought to MUFON or New Fork or to the newspaper or to any of these places. They've come directly from a witness to me and then out into the world. And I think that's a testament to Mainers wanting to share their stories as much as possible, you know?
Tell us a story from your book.
Sure. There's one story that I came across just last year. So 2023, the book came out just a little earlier this year. In 2023, and just goes to show the vastness of cases. It's a case from 1965. I'd never heard of it before. I came across it in a newspaper archive, and it happened at a school at about 9 o'clock in the morning. And there was a young boy, his name was Paul, and he was sitting at his desk. The teacher was in the middle of a lesson, and Paul started to hear this beeping sound coming from outside. And he got curious about it. So he just got up in the middle of class while the teacher is doing their thing and walks to the window. And he sees this black dot out in the sky. And it looks to him that the black dot is getting bigger. What he soon realizes is that it's getting closer. And he has like this audible gasp at the sight of this. And so the whole class finally like starts paying attention to him, and the teacher's like, "All right, everybody." But it was too late at that point. Everybody got up and went to the window, even the teacher. And they see this egg-shaped thing start coming into view. And it's no longer black. It's actually like grayish silver, and there's this black core on the bottom of it. And it's getting so low and so close to the school that it actually flies right by the window. And it's continuing to descend. And it appears to land behind a house that's next to the school. So the kids are going nuts. The teacher's like, I've got to go talk to somebody. So she goes and gets the principal, tells him what happens. And he decides to like sequester all the kids and tries to separate them so they're not like telling each other what they saw. He wanted to try to talk to them individually. So he sequesters the kids and he starts interviewing them one by one, and he has them draw what they saw. And they're all basically explaining the same thing: silver, oblong, egg-shaped thing with this black core on the bottom. There's a little antenna sticking out on the side, and there's like a little light on top, and the light is pulsating, and every time it pulsates, there's that beeping noise. So he calls the local newspaper and asks them if they had heard of anybody seeing a UFO today. And they said, yeah, somebody called us from just the next town over, and it was a railroad worker, and he was outside, and he started hearing a beeping sound and looked up, and he saw the black dot fly over. A couple minutes later, he heard beeping again, and he looked up and he saw another black dot fly over, and it was a little bit bigger. This ended up happening like 20 times, and each time the thing was lower and lower and lower and looked bigger and bigger, to the point where he described it as like a teacup with a black bottom flying over. So the reporter asked if they could come to the school and talk to some of the kids, and the principal said, yeah. So the reporter came over, talked to the kids, interviewed them, and even took pictures of them standing next to a chalkboard where they drew the UFO. And it hit the local paper. Right next to that article is an article about a meteor shower that happened. And the local college, professor, science professor was, interviewed, about the meteors. And I don't know if those two articles being so close together caused something in the town where it was just kind of forgotten about. An entire class and the teacher saw a UFO, it hit the paper, and nobody cared. It was really interesting, and I uncovered that, some 40 years later, and was able to put the whole story, or as much as I could, into the book. So it gets a second life of people hearing this crazy story about a school sighting.
These school sightings are just incredible. I mean, we've heard them all
They are.
before,
Yeah.
from the aerial school. Preston Dennett has actually written a book with over, I believe, 50 encounters of
Yeah, it's
schools
crazy.
around the world with these children. What do you think, in looking at this and other cases, that maybe, just maybe, uh, the um, the UFOs and or extraterrestrials on board have an interest in children regarding school sightings?
I certainly think it's possible, but I also think it's could be happenstance on just how a sighting occurred. Who knows what sort of time that they experience. So I'm sure they're not thinking, well, we got to get to school before 2, so the kids can see us or whatever. Um, I'm not so sure it's about them too much. But again, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on in that aspect of it, but it's certainly possible, and it's interesting to think about.
I've always wondered if they're trying to send children a different message.
I guess that's possible. I guess in my experience with school sightings, which is this one encounter, not that I haven't, watched the aerial documentary and all that good stuff, where they had a bit more of an intense experience. But if that were the case, it did not happen to these kids, at least that I'm aware of. It's not something that they shared where there was, maybe something downloaded into their heads or anything. Nothing like that I'm aware of. But that's certainly an interesting thought.
outside of this case, are there a lot of abductions in Maine?
There appears to be. There's a lot of people that seem to experience it, but not everybody wants to talk about it. That gets into a different level of sharing. That gets into a different level of trust. And I get told a lot of stories, but I can't share, I'm not allowed to share all of them, but I have shared a lot of abductions or at least encounters with other creatures, between humans and some sort of other worldly being.
What do you like more? Do you like people who have had the UFO encounter stories? Do you prefer the paranormal stories, cryptids?
I guess I have an inclination towards UFO, but I find it all fascinating. And I really feel like it's under this big umbrella where potentially it's all connected. You know, I try to be as an unbiased investigator or interviewer as possible, and people seem to be experiencing something. And you may be looking at it through the lens of a paranormal investigator, a UFO researcher, a Bigfoot investigator. But if you can try to get rid of that lens and see it for what it potentially could be, then maybe we might see that some of this stuff is more connected than not. I know with some UFO encounters after an abduction or after a really intense encounter, something that is perceived as paranormal activity inside the home might start to happen, or might start to happen a few days before. Then the UFO encounter happens, and then a few more paranormal encounters happen in the home. Interesting stuff. And I think there may be more of a connection to it all than it all being separate stuff.
Yeah, and I still think there is a major connection, and I believe that it's all one. I
Yeah.
really do believe it is all one. And I haven't been able to figure out how or why yet,
Yeah.
but here we are. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
as we go through this, the encounters that are happening in Maine, are they positive encounters, negative encounters? Are they something different?
I would say it's a pretty healthy mix. One example is a woman who was 92 years old. The only encounter she ever remembers in her entire life happened at 92 years old. And her kids were quick to say, "This is a woman who has no sense of humor. This is a woman who didn't enjoy entertainment. She was a mother and a hard worker through and through. She didn't have time for stories. She didn't have time to make stuff up." So when she woke up one morning and told her kids this story, they were astonished and immediately believed her. Oftentimes, as well, with abductees, they know the beginning of the encounter and the end of the encounter and don't always remember the meat of the encounter. And I think that's on purpose. But with this woman in particular, she had gone to bed one night, woke up in the middle of the night, and she said there were three tall beings surrounding her bed. And she perceived them as being medical professionals in some way. She knew they weren't human, but she perceived them as medical doctors in some way. And she recalls that they picked her up without touching her and floated her out of her bed and through a plate glass door and loaded her onto a bus. She perceived it as a bus. So now she's sitting in the bus and she said there's all these other people on the bus and there's a feeling of excitement, of fun, almost like they were going to go to, Disney World or some sort of theme park. There was that kind of excitement. The next thing she knows or remembers is being taken off the bus and floated back through the door and then back onto her bed. And they left. And to her, it was a very positive experience. It was a good time. She had a good feeling from everything that happened. And again, this is the one thing she remembered ever happening in her life. And it was 92 years old. And it was really a really positive experience.
I always wonder how it differs with people. Okay. Why do some people have such negative experiences while other ones are getting downloads or spiritual enlightenment or get to fly the craft? I mean, I
Right.
guess it could be a lot worse. I'm sure there's ET or people out there that have literally, been taken off this planet, never to be seen again, whether that
Yeah.
was by their choice or against their will. I'm sure it gets that bad. But I mean, just your thoughts on all of that.
It might be perception. Like, I think of the Travis Walton case anytime this kind of comes up, negative and positive experiences. And that seemed really negative. I mean, he was hurt, he was shot by this thing. And all these years later, into his later years, he's turned it around. And I don't know if he had to do this, for his subconscious, for his trauma over everything, or if he truly feels this way, but it has turned into like a positive experience. And he remembers that they were actually trying to help them. Like, he accidentally got hit by this beam and they had to take him to help him so he wouldn't die, like that type of scenario. And so it could be about perception. However, some experiencers I talked to know that they were awake the entire time and know that the beings that they encountered were nefarious. There was this gentleman who was walking home at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and he starts hearing voices like all around him, not just in his head, but it sounded like it was all around him. And then he fainted. He wakes up and he seems to be on some sort of table or something, and there's a bright light above him. And he opens his eyes, and there's these weird creatures that kind of start to surround him, and he's kind of getting freaked out. So he starts kind of punching and kicking his way out, again, kind of similar to Travis Walton's case. And he ends up kicking this alien in the chest, and he described it as a smaller gray, and it kind of went back and hit a wall and kind of slid down the wall, and this kind of freaked the other aliens out. So they were starting to he kept feeling like they were trying to calm him unnaturally, and it wasn't working at this point. And so this really tall, ugly alien came into the room and shoved something in his nose, and he started to feel a certain way. It started to really make him calm, and he eventually passed out again. And then he woke up on the pavement, and he had this horrible experience inside the UFO. And then they like kicked him out. They didn't want to deal with him. And that was not a positive experience for him.
No, not at all. And I could see where that would go. We got about 90 seconds here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Nomar Slevik is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Do you think there is a lot of crossover between, say, people who are having paranormal encounters, maybe a haunted house, and people who are having alien abduction at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think two things can be true at the same time. And I think the two separate things could actually be happening at the same time. But also, and more likely, they're probably connected, but it's tough to investigate it that way. For a lot of people, it's easier to go in a mindset that this is a haunting, and yeah, you saw something weird, but we got to deal with what's happening in the house. And then the investigator, the UFO guy, comes in and he's like, well, this crazy stuff's happening in the house, but we got to address what you saw in the sky. And I think it might make more sense to interview them with questions that talk about all of it and what has been leading up and what was the childhood like and what have you been experiencing your entire life, and try to paint a more broader picture as opposed to just going one way or the other.
Nomar, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, or top of the hour, that is. Author, researcher, Nomar Slevik is our guest tonight. UFOs over Maine can be found on his website, slevikstore.company.site. Go check it on out. Hour 2 with Nomar coming up right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Dave Scott. All right, Nomar, we are clear. I'm going to put you in the green room for right now. I have to go yell at the sky and shake a fist at the hockey world right now. Tonight's loss. I thought we were heading overtime.
So
No,
sorry.
no, gonna lose 3-2 in the final minute. I'll be right back. Horrible. Horrible.
Doing okay?
Oh, I'm surviving. I'm surviving. That's okay. 2 games to go. 2 games to go. All right. See who else has showed up here. My phone is blowing up. Fans around here. Horrible people. Horrible. Oh, man. Oh, well. We got about 45 seconds. Thank you to Joe and W. Decker for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support of SOR. And big thank you to everybody who's purchased swag at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website. Ask them. They'll tell you we do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag around here. We don't allow ugly swag around these parts. Nope. No, we don't. 10 seconds here. Hi, Dark Starry Sky. Yeah, keep it up, Dark Starry Sky. Awesome game tonight. So happy right now. Second hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. Thank you for choosing us for your nightly entertainment. And let's get to the Desert Clam. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Yogi Bogey Box. Apparently it's a word. Yogi Bogey Box is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Nomar Slevik is our guest tonight on the show. We're having a great time talking about UFOs and experiences that people are having, and his website where you can find his books, slevikstore.company.site. Go check it on out today. Nomar, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so sorry about what's happened in your life over the last few minutes.
It hurts, man. Hurts bad.
Yeah.
It's bad, but that's okay. That's okay. It's hockey. It's hockey. And that's the beautiful part of the game. But we got some UFOs to talk about. We got aliens to talk about. We got ghosts to talk about. Right before the break, I'd asked you about whether or not you felt that everything is kind of tied together. Have you ever taken any reports of people who have had cryptid or paranormal encounters followed up by a UFO sighting?
I have. I actually kind of had one of my own. It was really weird, and I still don't know what to think about it. And it happened like 20 years ago. I woke up in the middle of the night. I had to pee, and I walked out of my bedroom, which leads into the living room, which then leads into the kitchen, and beyond that's the bathroom. But before I could get to the kitchen, just as I was about to step down into the kitchen, there are two big bay windows in the kitchen, and you can see out them from the living room. And just as I was about to step into the kitchen, I looked out the window and I saw the silhouette of something crouching on the awning of the roof. I lived on the second floor. And I was just so taken aback by it. I just kind of froze. And I froze in like mid step. And just not even thinking and not holding my weight up anymore, I stepped down into the kitchen just after, a moment. And when my foot hit the kitchen floor, I saw this thing's head go like that, as if it heard me. And after it did that, it stood up. And then a second later, wings popped out from its back. And it popped out with such force that it sounded like a baseball pitcher throwing to a catcher and the ball hitting the mitt, really hard. That's what
That's
the
a
wings
distinctive
sounded
sound.
like.
That's a
Yeah.
distinctive sound.
So the wings pop out. Again, this is all happening in like 5 seconds, and it then kind of does this graceful jump off of the roof and like swoops down and flies like down the railroad tracks that were right next to the house, to the apartment, building that I was living in. It was actually a converted house. And, with it happening at like, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had just woken up because I had to pee, I still don't know if it was a dream or not. But to remember it like that and to know that like I had to pee, and even afterwards, like I didn't continue. I was afraid to go into the kitchen after this. So I just went back to my room, and I still remember the feeling of having to pee. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a dream. I don't know, but it seemed very real. And all I saw was this black silhouette. I couldn't, it was facing away from me, so I didn't see the face. I could see nothing but just blackness. Their body was silhouetted, by the moonlight. So fast forward like a week, and I've told a few people about what I experienced, and I was also a smoker at the time. So, it's like earlier in the evening. It's like, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm in the kitchen, and I actually have these big bay window open, and the lights are on in the apartment. It's not like it's scary or anything. And I actually live right next to the minor league stadium. So there was a game going on, and there was lots of noise coming from over there. So everything felt fine. So I leaned out the window to smoke. I didn't feel like going all the way outside, down the stairs and being in the parking lot there. So I'm just kind of leaned out of the apartment window, and I'm smoking out of the kitchen. And again, the railroad tracks are right there. And I start hearing like what I can only describe as like beep boops, like computer beep boops, like beep bump, beep bump, beep bump, bump, like coming from the railroad tracks. And there were like heavy footprints or footsteps associated with that. Beep bump, beep bump. And it sounded like there was a friggin' robot walking down the tracks. And I was going to see it any moment because it kept getting louder and louder. And I don't know what happened, but it then started to retreat again. And it started getting quieter and more quiet. And I was like, was there just a robot out on the railroad tracks? Like, what the hell was that? And then I started thinking more like along the lines of like alien, something inhuman, or maybe it was a UFO of some kind. I don't know. So I actually decided to go outside and go to the railroad tracks, but there's a gate, and you can't cross the gate to get on the railroad tracks. It was for people's protection, so I couldn't cross the gate. All I could do is kind of mash my face up against it and look down as far as I could, and I couldn't see anything. It was really frustrating. But those two things were really weird and right next to each other, and I still don't know what to make of it all this amount of time later.
What's the strangest thing you personally have encountered?
Wow. I was at Loring Air Force Base in northern Maine. It ran from the 50s and shut down in 1994. And now it sits abandoned. There are some businesses on the peripheral of it, and they do utilize some of the areas inside for like concerts, outdoor concerts, and some stuff like that. But a lot of it is just like huge pieces of like rusting hangars, and there's a whole barracks area, and it looks like the set from like The Last of Us or something. You know what I mean? Like they're all just derelict, living quarters. It's really interesting and really cool to be on site. And this base did house nuclear weapons back in the day, and they had numerous encounters from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and there were some in the 80s and 90s before it closed, and there's been some afterwards as well. But a really famous incident happened there over 3 nights in October of 1975. And not to tell the whole story because it's kind of a long story, but the highest ranking officer on the base visually saw the UFO with his own eyes, and he was the wing commander. He saw the UFO, and it all culminated on this third night where the UFO was seen hovering like 3 feet above the runway. And the Maine State Police and military police were kind of converging on this craft, and they stopped at about like 100 yards in front of it. And they're out of their vehicles looking at each other and looking at this craft and like, what the what do we do? And one of the military guys described the craft as like football shaped, but not metal, not silver. It was like plasma, all this different colored plasma, almost like one of those Einstein balls or whatever you call it with the electromagnetic, it makes your hair stand up, like plasma stuff kind of going around it. And a second later, it disappeared. The radio tower radioed them 10 seconds later and said this thing was over Nova Scotia, in 10 seconds time. It's crazy. So because I'm researching the base and all that stuff, I want to go up there. So I go up and I try to do the right thing. So I stop at the cop shop. I let them know, hey, I'm going to be on the base at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm investigating UFOs. And they're like, okay, weirdo. Thanks. Thanks for letting us know. So I'm on site. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sitting. I first actually sit at the runway where I tried to piece together where this incident occurred. Nothing happened over there. I was there for an hour and a half. So I go park in the parking lot of the tower. And my view is a bit obstructed because the tower is kind of in the middle of it. And then I have the, full view of the sky on either side. And not 3 or 4 minutes after parking there, there's a light in the sky. And it had been drizzling all night and there's thick cloud cover. So I know that what I'm seeing isn't celestial. It's an object under the clouds. It's an object that I feel is maybe 300 yards above the tower. And I'm just very human in that moment. I'm an experiencer in that moment. Sitting next to me is a night vision camera. I got a parabolic mic. I got EMF detectors. I even have a full spectrum camera. And I'm sitting there looking at it like an idiot with my jaw dropped, being like, I'm seeing a light at this iconic base where all of these other encounters happening. I'm seeing something. It's interesting. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, I know I'm going to drive under it. I don't know why. I just had that feeling that I needed to drive under it. So I put the car's already running and I put the car in drive and I move maybe 5 feet and I realize I'm holding my cell phone. So I hit the camera, hit record, and I start recording it. The car moves about 5 feet and the UFO does this weird little spinny thing and then disappears. I didn't know what to make of it, but I caught it on camera and it's on my YouTube channel. And you can search for, Loring Air Force Base UFO and my name, Nomar Slevik. But that's what I caught. A skeptic will look at it and see it's a light in the sky that disappears, and yeah, I mean, that's really all it is. But to be sitting at that base, knowing where all those encounters happen, and then I go there some 35, 40 years later and I see a light in the sky. It hit me pretty hard and it was really cool. And it was interesting. Yeah.
The emotional aspect that you go through with your brain when you have this experience, I think, is very misunderstood in many
Sure.
ways. I don't think many people understand the amount of emotions that you go through, from is it real to oh my god, I'm seeing this is amazing, oh no, I'm scared, what is happening here. I mean, there is a thread of emotions that
Yeah.
just never seems to end. And in the meantime, we're all supposed to be picking up our cell phones and taking a picture, when it's the
Yeah.
last
It was the last thing on my mind. Yeah.
Talk
And
about those
I could,
emotions.
it's, you know, I've only what I feel I've only ever experienced, a light in the sky. I have had some daylight sightings as well. So I feel like that's all I've ever experienced. And, I don't feel like I've been abducted or anything. So I can't even imagine the big feelings that go along with something even more intense. But to be an investigator and a researcher in that phenomenon and to see it and to witness it in the moment, and I could only look on in astonishment, really put into perspective for me what an experiencer must go through. Even in that same sort of similar situation, but especially when it's something much more intense. It's big feelings. It is trauma inducing, core memory inducing feelings and experiences, and it changes you. I feel like I was changed at 4 years old to understand something that I feel is fairly complex, seeing something in the sky that's strange, and I should start paying attention by looking up to know that, to make those connections at 4 years old. I feel eh, that's really that's big. It's a big
That's
deal.
very big,
Yeah,
very
and it
and
changed the
everybody
course of my life.
and everybody handles it differently. Some
Yeah.
people can take it, many others can't. I always like how people kind of I'm gonna use a term here that I don't think it best describes it, but how many people act tough on how they would react if they
Yeah.
had a close encounter of a UFO landing in their backyard, or coming across dogman in the forest, or whatever it may be. It always says, well, I wouldn't run away, I'd stare it down, and I would, or if there was a craft, I'd walk up to it. I've now been in front of two craft that have landed on the ground,
Jeez.
and it has scared the daylights out of me.
Absolutely. And I
Like,
gotta tell you, I'm at an age now where I walk away from toxic people. I don't mind, shutting off toxic people from my life. I've no problem setting boundaries. Well, I gotta say, if somebody does want to act tough or can't be honest with what they're feeling, I just don't have time for that anymore. I want to talk to real people that are having real encounters. And, uh, you know, uh, and be again going back to that non-judgmental ear and just listen to what they have to say. And I've been scared in the moment, with a person telling me their encounters, especially Mike Stevens. I wrote a whole book about Mike Stevens' experiences in the book Granite Skies. And this is a gentleman who's had an entire lifetime of encounters. And he's had some really scary stuff. And he and I have had some really tense in person interviews with each other, so I can get these stories from him. And he's telling me stuff, and I get transported into his world. And I feel like I'm seeing what he's seeing, and I'm getting scared and I'm crying with him. And it's intense stuff. And I wasn't even there. This is just a dude telling me. I can't even imagine being him, or being anybody that's had something so intense.
for people who don't know who Mike Stevens is, please describe him.
He's a gentleman in his 40s, lives in New Hampshire, and he's had a lifetime of seemingly extraterrestrial encounters that started at about 3 years old. And he and his cousin spotted a UFO at a family function outside. Somehow, these two young children, she was younger than him, and somehow they got outside and they saw a UFO hovering over a telephone pole. And the next thing they knew, they were in a different part of the driveway and some time had passed. It wasn't until he was 20 years old or so, or in his 20s, when he had hypnoregression therapy done, and he uncovered this encounter where he was taken inside this craft, his cousin as well, and he had these creatures that were by his shoulders and by his feet, and he remembers them kind of talking about and being more interested in the cousin, but they were also definitely focused on him. It kind of gets weird and doesn't remember a whole lot. And then boom, he's back on the driveway. And this proceeds to happen to him for the rest of his life. And it's very different encounters, almost like it's different species visiting him for whatever various reasons, and some are indifferent, for lack of a better word, to some being like nefarious and scary looking. Also, a lot of screen memories. So he remembers seeing a light or something, and then the next thing he knows, he's seeing like a really strange looking creature. It's not that scary, but it's really strange, and it feels like, he feels tired, he knows something happened, but all he can remember is this strange looking creature that's not really that scary, but it's really strange, and he feels like screen memories keep happening. And he's had things with animals, seeing albino deer where there should be any animals, or seeing owls and things like that. And it's nonstop. It's nonstop, to the point where I wrote this book on Mike, starting in like 2018, 2019. It came out in 2020. It's now 2024. And he just told me about something that happened last weekend. Him and his girlfriend were out camping, and they saw lights in the sky in the woods. And it looked really strange. And he was seeing these weird lights come down to the ground, like beams of light come down to the ground. But they weren't bothering him. They weren't in his area. But it's almost like he was allowed to see maybe somebody else's abduction, because he went to that area the next day and found that it was like 5, 6 people camping in that area. And he didn't dare ask them if something strange happened that night, because this stuff still scares him. But that's, there's a million more things I could say about Mike, but that's a lot of it in a nutshell.
Man, I would love to speak with him on this show.
Yeah. Yeah. I can probably arrange that.
See, that's the type of story that to me just absolutely blows my mind, is to
Yeah.
have that firsthand encounter of
Yeah.
what people are going through, and especially those who've been at it since they were very young. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's just amazing. Have you, in your research, found any sorts of patterns that you now follow? I love patterns. I
Yeah.
love seeing how things kind of sew together.
Yeah, patterns are interesting, and they do come up from time to time. I think the biggest, maybe, thread to a lot of these encounters is that whenever somebody is telling me something intense that happened to them, an experiencer is sharing this crazy story that happened to them, they almost always think it's the first time. And after careful questioning, and over the course of a few days or a few weeks or even a few months, we tend to uncover that stuff like this has happened before, typically in childhood. And then they find out, after talking to relatives or immediate family, others in the family have experienced something similar as well. So that's kind of the commonalities that I see when talking to people. As far as what people are seeing and experiencing, it runs the friggin' gamut. Grays is just one of many that I hear about. It's definitely not the most common that I hear about. It's certainly one that comes up, but it just runs the gamut. And types of craft runs the gamut. Types of lights runs the gamut. It's all
So
over the place.
what are people seeing, as we got under a minute to go here?
I don't know. The only thing that I'm sure of, after over 20 years in this field and talking to people and doing the research, is I don't know anything. I've got more questions than answers. And I do like that some of those questions are directed at experiencers. So again, I can log their story and hopefully share it with somebody else. I don't know what it is. I just know that people are experiencing something.
Right.
And millions of people can't be lying. I'm sure some of them are, but not all of them. And it only takes one of
That's
those stories to be true. And it
Nomar
changes
Slevik, we have
everything.
him for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, talking all sorts of experiences people are having. You can find his books at slevikstore.company.site. We'll be right back with the second half of the show next. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, man. We are clear. Flying on by here, eh?
Right. Yeah.
It's good times. Good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. This is always a good time. You're so easy to talk to, Dave. It's crazy.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. We got to get you to
Yeah.
the fan party next year.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. And also, yeah, I should. I'll tell Mike to hit you up.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Geez, even my sister's in on it right now. What a hag. That's why I hate people. Right here. Especially
People
Canuck
are
fans.
the people are the worst.
This is killing me. Just killing me. But self-inflicted. Not gonna lie. Self-inflicted.
Like I'm from Maine, dude, and we're all about the Red Sox here, and they've just hurt our hearts for years and years and years and years. And we finally got our stuff together come 2004 or so. But I'm not the biggest sports fan, but even me not being the biggest sports fan, like Boston, the Red Sox, they know how to hurt your feelings.
I can say the same thing about my Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to believe it's coming up 20 years since we won a World Series.
Yeah.
I need Derek Jeter to come out of retirement for that. Are you doing any conferences or anything this year?
Yeah, I got a few things coming up. I'm doing a little book signing in a couple weeks, and there's a conference in October. Then there's a cool little. It's a thing called a witches walk that they do like at the waterfront in October, and I'll have a table over there, which is always fun. And what else am I doing? And then there's a lot of stuff that happens like to the south of me, like too far south to make it comfortable to go to, because I don't want to go and get a hotel and this is what I do for a living and I can't like spend more than what I'm making, going to a thing.
Obviously.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'd be surprised though. There's a lot of people that like. There's a big social aspect to conferences and vending and stuff. And I'm just really surprised at what some people are willing to do to travel to a place and spend the night and all that stuff. But they might make $100 in sales or something. But I can't be about that. So I try to do stuff that's close to home, and that includes like a lot of library talks and stuff. So
Yeah, I'd like to get into some library talks too.
yeah. Yeah, it's a good time, man. There's no money in it other than hopefully they let you sell books afterwards.
Yeah.
Sell something afterwards.
Yeah. We got such a weird history here in my area.
For sure.
That's just it's crazy, and I think we need I'm you know what? I've been here almost 9 years. I still haven't stepped foot into the library.
Wow. Yeah, you should check it out. Libraries are cool spots, man. But I'm also a book dork, so don't go by me. But
Yeah, I like books too.
yeah,
I do. We got
Joe,
about
Joe
90
Monk being
seconds.
funny here.
Oh, Joe Monk's always being funny. He's just a funny guy, that Joe Monk. I know, Joe. I know. A geek hungry. I'm going to put this statement out. Vancouver fans riot if they don't win. Horrible people that smell of cabbage. That's right. Cabbage eaters. That's right. Your Flames won in 1989 over the Montreal Canadiens. At least you got one. Canuck fans been waiting 54 years. Mm-hmm. We have about 40 seconds. Big thank you tonight to W. Decker and Cosmic Joe for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support that you have for SOR. Thank you to all of our new subscribers for hitting subscribe and ringing that bell. We're in closing on 26,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, where we do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag there. All right, here we go with the next half hour. Sit back, relax. We're going to get going in like 5 seconds or so. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this great planet we call Earth. All right. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on. Nomar Slevik is our guest tonight. He's got a bunch of books out, including his remake of UFOs over Maine, which can be found at slevikstore.company.site. Nomar, been a great show so far. You're so knowledgeable and so caring about the people who are experiencing this amazing phenomena that we have. What do you think the phenomenon actually is?
I go back and forth. Over the years, I'm up and down. I'm all over the place. As I gather more information, I change my opinion, as it should be, I feel. And for a long time, I thought they were space brethren from outside of our galaxy, maybe even from planets within our galaxy. I don't know. And, now, is there some sort of interdimensional thing happening? Is that what the connection to all of these things are? The cryptids and the hauntings and UFOs and the dogmans and even black-eyed kids and, there's a lot of these Sandown clown. That's a crazy thing. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of different things that are happening out there. And, I don't know if there's just all of these dimensions and we're merging more often or we're paying attention more. I don't know, but I guess that's where I'm kind of sitting right now, but that could change next week, but those are my thoughts.
I tend to think that there is, well, I'm just going to put it this way. I never talk religion on this show, or I try not to because it's so controversial. But I tend to, I'm a believer in God. I will say that. That's my belief. I don't push it on anybody, and I don't want people pushing their beliefs on me. I have my own path that I'm following. To me, the reason why I mention that is, to me, the phenomena is almost godly. It seems to control everything, control the emotions, control it. Like the phenomena always seems to only give you what it feels you can handle. And this is where it gets a little odd for me, because sometimes it can be pleasant. Other times it can be absolutely nightmarish for many people. And if it has that much control where it can change your thoughts, change what you are actually seeing, not allowing you to remember the experiences that have to be brought back through some sort of hypnotic regression, I feel that this is something that is almost almighty. What's your thoughts on that?
That's an interesting perspective. I don't think that's something I would align with, but I've also never thought about it that way. And that's really interesting because you do bring up several good points. And yeah, I could see some experiencers feeling like it is a religious experience when you put it that way. And I have talked to some people that maybe thought a being that they encountered seemed demonic, felt demonic. So maybe, when you start using the demon word, you can't help but, start thinking of religion and God and, things like that, at least, for me in my experience. But yeah, I've never thought of it that way. And it's super interesting. And I appreciate the perspective. And I don't think I align with it, but I can appreciate that. And I think that could be another tool that I can carry around when I talk to people because I'm not trying to push my agenda or my beliefs on anybody else either. I wouldn't want them to do that to me. So if somebody's being open enough to tell me what they're experiencing, I can say, hey, here's a perspective that I've heard that feels like kind of aligns to what your beliefs are. What do you think about that? That's an interesting thing that I can now share. And that's cool.
Well, you know what? The fact is, we don't know, and we have to be open to all the possibilities. This is why.
Absolutely.
This is why. What I, especially with the UFO crowd, I think, and this is my belief again. I think there is this UFO Pandora's box that is hidden somewhere in the depths of the Pentagon. Probably at least 84 stories below. I don't know. I'm exaggerating there a little bit. But we cannot refute stories until we know for sure. And they are hidden in that Pandora's box of UFOs. Whether it's Eisenhower claiming, or people claiming that Eisenhower, when he was president, traded humans for technology, whether it's Bob Lazar working at Area 51, whether it's David Adair, who allegedly launched a rocket at 16 years old into Area 51 from wherever he was, Ohio or wherever he was. There's so many stories out there. What happened truly at Roswell and Kecksburg and Shag Harbor and all of these places? What about Ronald Reagan's weird speech at the UN where he talks about an alien invasion? Where is this coming from? What are the secrets? Why are we hiding the technology? Why are we hiding all of it? And until those questions are answered, I don't think we can really deny anything. We can believe they're not true. We can believe anything's not true, but that's just personal opinion. We
Right.
don't have evidence to rule it out yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost transcended belief. You know what I mean? Like it's so big that almost the individual doesn't matter anymore in the grand scheme of things when speaking about the phenomenon. Of course, the individual matters, but you know, speaking about the phenomenon in a general sense, it's so big, so many witnesses, so many weird things like the stuff that you just mentioned, not to also mention the plethora, the word you like, of
Lo-
of creatures that have been seen, where you could probably and I know there have been books about species that have come out. I don't know how I feel about them, but uh where there's thousands of different races and species or whatever, like it's so big, it's so vast. We just know nothing. It's so big that you can't know it almost. It's like the universe, you know what I mean? Like it's a tough thing to study. And I think there are areas of, I don't know if expertise is the right word, but there's areas of in study. And for me, it's the experiencer. For somebody like Greer, it's his, crazy CE5 stuff. For somebody like Grush or Tom DeLonge, it's disclosure, and it all has its place. And we don't even have to believe one another. I do think it's important that we try to get along as much as possible, because we are dealing with real people at the end of it. But
And I agree with you. But do you think that, in your opinion, I know you're following the UFO story, do you think that we really want this to happen? Us in the UFO community do.
yeah, but generally, like the general
The
population,
general aspect.
probably not. And I don't know if that's as simple as then the mystery goes away, or is it like finding out God exists, Like, is it like that feels like something that's would be really hard to comprehend, you know?
I
I don't
think
know.
I think people will be scared.
Yeah, I think it
I
would be the pandemic times 8 billion.
I would say you're close to that. I would have put it at 10 billion.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
okay, let's go down this road here for a couple of minutes here. What do you think would cause the panic if, say, Joe Biden or whoever's president at that time comes out and says, "My fellow Americans, it's a historic day. We have learned that we are no longer alone in the universe."
I think there are so many. I guess it depends on, because you're kind of putting it in a perfect scenario, and we know it wouldn't be like that. There are so many people with a spiritual belief, a belief in some sort of God. And I think that would rock a lot of those people, which is almost everybody on the planet. You know what I mean? And what they believe in. And I think it would rock that to their core, that I don't know if it could just be said plainly like that. I feel, and this might just be the horror movie lover in me, but I feel it will be like a Signs type of scenario where all these craft just start appearing everywhere, and they're not waiting on us anymore to people. They're going to show us, you know. And at that point, that's where it's going to be really scary.
Do
That's
we
the,
do we
go ahead.
really want the aliens to disclose? Shouldn't it be us fellow humans?
Absolutely. I feel like it should be. I'm just, in my opinion, I could see that closer to happening than a president coming on and saying what you just said. I don't think that's ever going to happen. That's just so hard for me to believe that could happen. And again, I thought we were getting to a place, and we just started receding. We started receding. 2017 was spectacular with that New York Times article, and I feel like there were a few steps forward, and now it's just been a bunch back. And it's really ultimately frustrating. I think maybe it could come from another country, but we're not always the most diplomatic. You know what I mean? So if we don't say it, if the American people don't hear it from an American, I don't know if we're going to buy into it.
Well,
Generally speaking,
how would the world change if it was Russia, China, or Iran, or another country that's maybe not very friendly to the Western culture? What would happen in your opinion if it was them?
my hope would be that we would come together. The American people, I'm not talking about the government, I'm talking about the people. And we would apply pressure to our government to tell us the truth, because we believe what these other governments are telling their people. And we want to hear it from ours as opposed to being lied to. Because I guess that's my hope. what would actually happen, in my opinion, I don't know. I guess that's not a thing I think about too often, but my hope is that we would come together and we would apply pressure for us to be told. And that pressure could involve, crazy things happening during election times. You know what I mean? Where somebody who thinks Gershwin is not anymore because of, not telling us the truth when all of these other countries have come forward with the truth. And I would assume it would also come with extraordinary evidence that can't be denied anymore, and we would demand, I would think, the Americans to be told what's true. At least that's what I would want to happen.
Question is, with all the secrets that America has covered over the years, the American governments and the military's covered over the years, do they even know what the truth is anymore?
Um,
And
on certain
I'm just saying on the UFO level.
yeah. And I think in certain levels of the government, probably not. But like you were saying, there's a Pandora's box somewhere, and there's at least a room full of people that knows what's in it and knows what's going on. I do feel that. Is that the shadow government? I don't know. Is it, how far removed are they from the president? I'm sure very, very far removed, and is maybe the actual, hand that's manipulating things. But yeah, I do feel that there's somebody that knows that's in there.
I always wonder who that is.
Me too.
How does a guy get that job?
I don't know. I think Lou Elizondo wanted it and thinks he got it, but it's not him, in
No,
my humble opinion.
from what I hear, there's a complete cabal above that, and they are laughing at everything. I was once told by somebody that, and this is somebody who has his fingers within the NSA, that there are a number of NSA members who listen to this show on a nightly basis just to laugh.
I would
And it's
first
not
like
that they're,
to go ahead.
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Well, I would just first like to say hello to
Yeah.
these gentlemen and women. And second, I could see that being true, and I just know that I am happy and feel fortunate to be able to talk to experiencers who I basically believe what they're telling me. That's where I feel most comfortable. I'm not trying to fight this disclosure fight. I feel happy and comfortable where I am talking to experiencers and trying to share their stories and going back to having that kind, non-judgmental ear. We live in a world that's so unkind, and it's really easy to be kind. And I just love doing that for people. And that's where I like to be. It's fun to ponder these things, but geez, I'd like to know who that guy is that we were talking about. And that would be a really interesting job to have, but I wouldn't want it. It'd be cool if you had it and we could talk, but
See, I think I could handle that.
I
I,
think you could too.
I think I could handle that job.
Yeah.
But the problem that handling the job is one thing, keeping your mouth shut is another. And that's what
money has a way of motivating.
jail has a way of motivating too.
Sure. Yeah. And I think it would be intense on both sides of those things. I think you'd be all right.
I'm very curious to see how it's going to go because I mean, we're hearing now as the UFO topic starts to take off again politically, we're hearing people like David Grush and Lou Elizondo coming out saying that they have been warned about threats to their lives, their families' lives, their
Yeah.
careers, their bank accounts, jail time, whatever. I mean, we're dealing with legit threats here, because when you're dealing with that type of people, national security trumps everything. It trumps your mother, your father, your spouse, your children. It trumps everything. That's what you swore to.
Yeah.
And when you feel somebody's breaking that bond, you take it more seriously than, say, the Russians coming over and dropping a stink bomb in the middle of Fenway Park. I don't get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. We have about 4.5 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you on Spaced Out Radio. Nomar Slevik is our guest tonight. What do you want people to know? What is your message for the public who's maybe not having experiences but wants to learn more?
Open-mindedness goes a long way. If you have a passive curiosity in the paranormal, it's okay to be open-minded, and you can pick up a book or watch a documentary or listen to some podcasts and expand some of your knowledge, and listen to people. That's a big message, just to listen. We don't always have to be the one talking. you know if you listen, you're going to learn a whole lot. Um, and I have throughout all these years, just by shutting up. When I get on a program like this, I get to talk. You know what I mean? But when I'm with an experiencer, they're the one doing a lot of the talking. I'm asking questions, but so that's the biggest thing for me, is to listen and to be kind. And that may sound corny or it may sound silly, but listening and kindness is a big deal in my world. And it's helped me get into places. It's helped me to talk to people that I couldn't normally talk to. It's helped me to share stories I might not have been able to tell. It's gotten me in front of people I wouldn't normally be able to get in front of. And that's all it took. I'm no great scholar. I have an associate's degree. I'm kind of a dummy. Like you guys have seen me tonight. I'm kind of an idiot. And I've been able to do some really incredible things just by being nice and just by listening, and it can take you very far. That's
It,
my
it
opinion.
sure can. It sure can. But it's also having an open mind about, keeping these subjects, pardon me, with a grain of salt. You have to be skeptical, but
Sure.
you also have to be able to understand that sometimes the phenomena has no answers.
Yeah. You definitely have to be okay without having a definite answer. And it's okay to not believe something as well. Like there's a lot of people in our fields and within, paranormal investigators and, cryptid hunters and all that good stuff, where they feel like, they need to have their finger on the pulse constantly. And there's a lot of belief on their part going around. And it's like, oh, I got to be into that, and I got to be into that, and I got to believe this. And you don't have to do anything. There's no path. You don't have to believe everything. You don't have to believe anything. But if you're trying to find answers, or if you're trying to do research, then yeah, you got to be open minded. But you don't have to believe everything. You don't have to do what you think everybody else is doing, or watching some TV show and seeing what they do. Like you can forge your own path. You can also learn from a lot of different people. Do all of that, and walk your own path and do your research and talk to people and listen. But being open-minded doesn't mean you believe everything.
30 seconds left. Tell everybody where they can find your books.
Amazon, of course. But if you'd like signed copies, personalized copies with stickers and bookmarks, then slevikstore.company.site. Also, allmylinks.com/Slevik. And you can get to all my other stuff. I have a podcast. I have documentaries that I've made. You can get to all of that stuff. allmylinks.com/Slevik. And you can see all that stuff.
Nomar, thank you again for coming on Spaced Out Radio. It's always a fun time with you here on the show. And, good luck with your book sales. Good luck with everything, my man. We'll
Thank
talk
you,
soon.
Dave. Thanks so much. Tell Steve I say hi.
I will. I will. All right. Nomar Slevik, everybody. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Jackie Harmon returns with the Cryptid Report. It's Dave 101 Night. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, my man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody in the chat saying thanks. I appreciate it too. Thank you. Oh, thanks for sharing the link, Timothy, man. Appreciate it. And yeah, Dave, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. You take care, okay?
Take care.
See you, buddy. Nomar Slevik, everybody. God, he's a good guy. Travis William Moose, how you doing? Sierra, we go 3 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific till midnight. I will be right back. I'm going to go cry my sorrows outside. Be right back. Old Davy is back. Wallet Moth, how you doing? Canna Chef Chris, good to see you. GW, I did return. The show must go on, as Queen used to sing. Does anybody really like Queen with Adam Lambert singing? Not a fan. I watched a concert on TV once, and his over singing of every song and then trying to make the songs his own. Don't like that. Sing them the way they are. Sing them the way they're supposed to sing. Thank you, W. Decker and Joe, for the super chats. Very much appreciated. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate hurting your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We very much appreciate you joining us each and every night. And let's get to the Desert Clam as he sets the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Yogi Bogey Box. Yeah, it's a word. Yogi Bogey Box is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night. We say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another creepy, creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Loverboy, the band, was wildly popular in the 80s with some songs on their roster like Working for the Weekend, which went to number 1 in Canada and the U.S., Loving Every Minute of It, number 1 in the U.S., This Could Be the Night, number 1 in the U.S., and When It's Over, which went to number 1 in the U.S. Collectively, they sold over 23 million records and were not a one-hit wonder. Loverboy, originally named Coverboy by lead guitarist Paul Dean, but later changed, was formed in Canada in 1978, but toured the world over many times. Smith was the founding member of the band and bassist for the group for the entire time. Their debut was opening for the band Kiss in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they still sell out concerts to this day. In the year 2000, Smith was on a boat bound for Mexico from Vancouver, British Columbia, with 2 friends and his girlfriend when a storm started to stir the waves into 25-foot swells that eventually knocked the boat onto the port side of the Golden Gate Bridge off the coast of Ocean Beach, California. Friend Bill Ellis, who was also on the boat, was down in the cabin changing into storm gear, and when he made his way back to the controls, Smith was missing, along with the boat's steering wheel. The remaining crew was able to get the boat upright eventually and come about to the area where Smith was last seen. There was no sign of Smith nor any debris, even though they searched for an hour. The 2 friends were unharmed, and the girlfriend was treated for hypothermia and released from a nearby hospital. The Coast Guard was called, and a search was started, but hampered by weather and a heavy fog that rolled into the area. 133 square miles were searched, but no sign of Smith was ever found. A private search and rescue was also done, but they were also unable to recover anything from the wreckage and never located Smith's body. Experts weighing in on the missing persons case suggested that no one could survive in those waters for more than 2.5 hours due to hypothermia and sharks. Scott Smith was just 45 years old. The band resumed touring a year after his disappearance in Smith's memory.
And thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for a great super chat. It's a great, great story. Pardon me. If you want more just like that, head on over to youtube.com/spaced out radio. And Steve's talked among the missing. Actually, I think he's changed the name of that now. I do. Tales Untold. Tales Untold. So we're going to have to update that. Either way, we got a show to continue. It's time for the Cryptid Report. Here's Jackie Harmon. Jackie Harmon coming off a road trip to Reno for the 3rd annual SOR fan party. Guess what, people? She went to the party single, left in a loving relationship with Lee Strauss. Look at you two go, you two lovebirds.
Yeah, we're together. That's true story. We definitely came in flying in single and left out together. So
I love it.
hi, Tim.
I love it.
Hi, everybody.
I have to say this, okay? You two are a great couple.
Aw, thanks.
I saw it right off the bat, and I told you, I mentioned it to you right off the bat. And you're like, nah, no, downplaying everything. Well, the cuddling, the hand holding, the caressing of the back of the neck while you're having a drink at the bar. Oh yeah, you lovebirds made me sick. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, well, we made it official, I think the day after we got back, or maybe it was even the day we left. I can't even remember now. It's been a week. But yeah, we are officially together, and it's all mainly because of you. I mean, you kind of brought us back together, really.
Blame me. Underneath my sweater, there is a pair of Cupid wings.
Well, I just have to say though, Lee and I cannot say enough about how much fun we had, how amazing you are as a host. We had the best time. Everybody bonds together. We literally left there feeling like everybody was our family. It was amazing. We cannot stop talking about it. We cannot wait till next year.
You know what? I always love it when our fans get to meet people in our field. And you know what? It goes the same way for us because, you and Lee, you're kind of new to the SOR family, and you guys, I mean, I've known Lee a long time. You and I have only got to know each other over the last number of months, but getting to meet new people and getting to meet you guys and that was a thrill for me. Just as much of as it was a thrill to see Science Bob and Jim Goodall and Melinda and Lorian and R. Keith Andrews and Mama Catherine and Charlie and everybody else that was there hanging out with my buddy Merle. Isn't Merle amazing?
Merle. I fell in love with everybody. It was literally just like this love fest of friendship. We had the best time. It was nonstop, just go, go, go. But we just loved every minute of it.
How cool is it to actually get to meet the fans who not only listen to this show, but follow your work as well as a paranormal and cryptid investigator?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I've actually been doing different events for about probably 11 or 12 years now. And I'm always thrilled to have people who watch and come out or listen, and we get to hang out and they get a better side of who I really am in person, and we become friends. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. I love meeting the fans. They love hanging out and having a good time, and we just all become family. And I love the closeness we all have later.
Yeah, next year is going to be fun. Probably my favorite part of the entire weekend outside of the live YouTube show we did was Virginia City.
Oh, everybody's talking about it. We had the best time there. So much activity that night. It was unreal.
So Merle is actually in the process of flying home right now.
Ooh.
And he stayed a few extra days because he was geeking out on all of these paranormal hotspots around Virginia City and Carson City and everything. He was telling me the other day when I actually got home, we were on the phone, and he was telling me how in between on the way to Carson City, he rolled up on this cemetery in the middle of the desert. So that the cemeteries attract him. He goes and checks it on out to check out the headphones, and he sees this bush start shaking, and this lizard comes scurrying across the ground and right over top of his shoes.
That's hilarious.
If that didn't freak him out, it was the rattlesnakes that did.
Ooh, and it's funny. I remember mentioning those when we were there. Do you remember? I mentioned those rattlesnakes multiple times and said, if you're going to be out there, be prepared. It's rattlesnake season.
What makes Virginia City so haunted? You've been there numerous times.
I have been there several times, and I was just literally talking about this earlier today. It never fails. Every single time we go, there's activity. I've never been to Virginia City once where there wasn't some activity. And most of the time, it's every single place we would go to. It is by far the most haunted town I have ever been to. I absolutely love it there. It's like, you're going to get something. You're going to feel something. You feel it when you drive into the town. It's just a completely different place. It almost takes you back in time, literally, as you walk through and you're looking at it and you're listening to the history when you're taking the tours and everything that, just happened back then. And it really does just kind of take you back. And like I said, we get every single time, without fail, every single time we go, there's orbs, there's energy, there's spirit, there's something going on all the time. And I absolutely love it. It's probably by far the most famous town that all the people you can imagine on TV that you've seen, like even Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunter. I mean, you name it. Everybody goes there, and every single time they leave with amazing experiences. And, just us as a group, we even had experiences that night. We were getting orbs flying around, lots of energy. People were picking up like blue lights and orbs on pictures, talking on the the S-Box. We were getting different things being answered, questions we would ask, and they would answer. I mean, it's just amazing. It's really mind-blowing how much activity there truly is in that one little town. And it's not a huge town by any means. It's small enough to where you can literally walk around the town within a few minutes. You've done the town, but it's highly active. So if anyone's interested in going out to a very haunted little town, Virginia City is number one in my book.
We started at the Washoe Club, which is an old hotel / bar where, a lot of the history continues to play out there. And we, they even have like a Stonewall crypt in the back of the building. I didn't know what the hell that was. It kind of tripped me out being in there. And then they have this beautiful rounded staircase that goes up. And I felt like there was something standing at the top of that stairway looking down at us. It was absolutely creepy.
Mm-hmm. I get that feeling every single time I'm standing underneath that staircase. I literally feel like there's someone leaning over, just looking at us. I've been there before where you can hear footsteps walking down the staircase coming towards you. It's an interesting place. And that crypt in the back of the room that you're talking about, like you walk in there and it's like you're in a refrigerator, like a little walk-in freezer. It is so cold in there. It's like a little mini cellar crypt. And that place, it really does creep me out. That's the one that I kind of just get the willies of. I can't really stand in there for very long by myself. It's like, I just feel like a heavy, creepy, not to the point of anything horrible or demonic or anything like that, but you can definitely feel something back there.
Oh yeah. I had to laugh because inside the one room they have all of these photos dedicated to the big name paranormal investigators that have been there. And I'm looking in one of the glass cases, and there's a picture of a good friend of ours on this show, Dave Schrader.
Oh yeah.
And I took a picture of that, and I actually texted him on Facebook Messenger, and I'm like, so sexy. And
Well,
he texted me, oh my.
yeah. Well, speaking of Dave Schrader, I was actually gonna tell you guys there's actually a couple of Paracons happening this weekend. One that Dave's gonna be at the Ohio State Reformatory. It's actually starts tomorrow, goes through Saturday, and he's gonna be there. They're gonna have like everyone from psychics to paranormal to Bigfoot to UFO, you name it. And they're going to have so many people at this place. This is actually one of the best like places where people go, have amazing experience, have a really good time. Lots of great people from all over. But I have a few names. I didn't write down everybody, but I've got like Ben Hansen, Mike Ricksecker, who's actually going to be talking about time traveling, which I was listening to a few minutes ago. Like we got Ronnie LeBlanc and Russell Accord from Bigfoot, and Brian Cano, John Zaffis, Katrina Whiteman, and Hearst Mania. I don't know if you guys know about Hearst Mania. Have you heard of them?
No.
Okay, so Hearst Mania is actually like this specialty professional car show where they bring in all these different kind of hearses. So anyone who's into that or really loves like just looking at them or checking them out, there's a huge array of like different hearses out there. So that's going to be really cool. That's this weekend. And I actually looked it up. The tickets are very, very affordable. I think it's like $25 for one day, $40 for 2 days. It's super affordable. So if anybody's near there, go check that out. I also wanted to tell you guys about this UFO festival that's going on also tomorrow and Saturday. It's actually going to be in Portland, Oregon. It's a UFO festival that invades McMinnville. The aliens are attacking McMinnville near Hotel Oregon. It's actually where people dress up as aliens and they participate in like a parade, listening to the speakers, the music, basically hobnobbing with all the other aliens who get dressed up and run around and have fun. But that's actually this Friday and Saturday as well. So if you guys are anywhere near Portland, Oregon, or Ohio State Reformatory, those are two amazing, super fun, like Paracons that are happening this weekend. So I don't know if you can beat the SOR, but those are going to be a lot of fun.
We're going to start planning our next event pretty quickly here because, you know, you have to lock down the location. You have to figure out travel for everybody. And you just have to continue to you know, plan ahead with these things to see what people like. We've brought it down to 2 locations where we may have it next year. We're either going to head down to Apache Junction, Arizona, where one of our great radio stations is. Yep. And Len Novin, who owns a radio station, he's all for us coming down because he just loves SOR. And I know the listeners there on the Rattler absolutely love SOR as well. So shout out to them. Or we're going to go back to Vegas. One of the two.
Oh, one of the I was thinking you were going to say like Phoenix because it's so close to Apache Junction.
Well, if we're going to Phoenix, I would go to Apache Junction because they support our show. They are very, very, you know, ever since we went on, just like every other one of our radio stations that we're on, the minute we went on there, it just blew up and the audience has really taken off. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's Apache Junction or Vernal, Utah, or Mississauga, Ontario, or Noonan, Georgia, or Ridgecrest, California, or the others. It's just taken off with great delight because people are looking for that escape to listen and tune on in and hang on out and hear something weird and strange during the night, which we bring nightly. Don't have to describe that to everybody, but we want to move it around. But I will tell you this. I will not be booking any more places that do not have direct flights.
Woo. I'm so close to either place. I'll probably just drive. So, but if we're taking votes, I'm Vegas, baby.
I know you're Vegas. I totally know you're Vegas.
I love me some Vegas. And not only that, I actually have a lot of friends in Vegas who would love to attend this.
Well, you know what? That's something that we need to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
I know our Apache Junction listeners would love to have us there.
It would be
And
nice
also
to hear too.
next year, I'm actually I got to talk to a buddy of mine because he's pretty well known in my community, and he's a local business owner and everything, and loves events. I'm really, really thinking that we should do an event up here next year as well.
In Canada?
Up in Canada, in the Caribou region.
So let me just put my 2 cents in on that for 1 second, okay? I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me, but most Americans will not get a passport, okay? I don't know why that is. They just don't. They don't leave the country. This country is so big. They actually vacation here. So that's the only issue I can see is you're going to find a lot of people who just don't want to get it and don't have it.
That's okay. I can get local support for that one.
There you go.
Yeah,
Either
because
way, I'm coming. I'll be there.
I kind of want to show off my area because it's so haunted. There's so many UFOs. There is so many Sasquatch or a couple of Sasquatch areas that we have, and we'll do tours in there.
That'd be fun.
Show you how remote it is. Nobody allowed to walk around alone. Oh yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. Jackie, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Because we only have about 90 seconds left, and we've kind of been just, trouncing around here, not really getting into the juice of anything. You want to stick around? Or
yeah,
you gotta
sure.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's stick around, hang out a little bit, because we do have some other stuff that we could chat about that I wanted to get your opinion on.
Okay.
Including a story that kind of broke a few days ago. I talked about it last night with Science Bob, but I want to get your opinion on the Vatican looking into the paranormal phenomena. I want to get into that because I think you're going to have some interesting takes on that. I really do. I know I do. And I think it just warrants further discussion as we go forward with that. And if you haven't heard, the Vatican is going to be releasing a report regarding how to communicate with spirit. And should you connect with aliens, spirits? Are they more than miracles? Do we have the ability to do this? Everything that every major religion told us not to do, the Vatican's pretty much saying, with discernment, you might want to look into this.
Yep.
All right. Spaced Out Radio continues with the Cryptid Report. Jackie Harmon is our specialist du jour. Yeah. See, through a little French there for the Canadian content. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this with our final half hour. So stick around, everybody. It's been a great show so far. Let's take it right to the end. We'll be right back. This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott. All right, we're clear. I like leaving those little pauses at the end because it helps me edit. Yeah, get your passport, Jackson. So when Lee comes up here, you can come hang out with us.
Oh, I've got mine already.
Yeah.
I've got mine. I even have my passport card.
Because I know Lee.
I got both.
I know Lee was would love to come up here this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm getting messages from Merle, and I know it's going to be like. Dude, what was the score? I was in the air. Really?
Yeah, like, hello, we're doing a show here. Merle. I love
Merle.
Merle was
Merle.
loved Merle. Loved everybody.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had so
All
much-
happy faces and laughing right now. He knows what happened at the hockey game tonight. What a jerk.
Oh, he's
I'm not
trying to rub it
I'm
in.
not going to say what he did. This is the message from Merle here. Look at this shit.
Oh no. Oh yeah, he really needs to know.
What a jerk. I'm going to tell him that. You're a jerk.
For people
you
though
know what?
who haven't been up there to your place, oh my God, gorgeous, beautiful,
Yeah.
stunning up there.
It is stunning up here.
I
You
love
know? Mm-hmm.
I am dying to hear what you have to say about this Vatican situation.
It's kind of a cool story.
It is kind of a cool story.
Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, I've been actually reading about it.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I have.
It's kind of your job, you know. Oh, he's still sending stuff. What a jerk. Oh, gosh. Now he's gifting me.
That's my job, Merle.
Asimov, how you doing? I haven't seen the Northern Lights tonight.
Hope everybody's doing well out there. I think we're still kind of recovering from the weekend. I'm still very tired and stuffy.
You know what? When I finally got home, on my flight home, I had nobody beside me on the plane.
Ooh.
It was just me and 3 seats. I passed out right before takeoff. I woke up during takeoff because I love takeoffs. I didn't even feel the landing. When I woke up, it was to the captain's voice welcoming us to Vancouver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You were ready for that nap.
Oh, yeah. It was a strong 2 hours. I'm
I
sure I
had
was.
layover. I had to go to Vegas.
I tried to go to Vegas. I tried. Didn't make it, though.
Yeah. I had a very short flight from basically Reno to Vegas and then Vegas back to Ontario, California. And I did the same thing, both flights. I just sort of I had no one sitting next to me. I don't know how that happened, but I just crashed. I was like, well, fucker out. I'm done. It's been a weekend. But this girl was tired.
The girl was tired.
Yeah. I kind of did the same thing. I passed out and I remember like when the wheels hit the, runway, I was like, whoa, what just happened? And it woke me up and I thought, oh, we're here. That was fast. I slept the whole way. And I pray to God I wasn't sleeping and with my mouth wide open and snoring.
Right?
Yeah.
Me either.
Yeah.
You know, last thing you want is to be, sawing logs with somebody who is making noise.
Yeah. Well, the ironic thing was one flight, I was talking to a flight attendant who I guess was just flying home. She actually lives in the same town as I do. And she was talking to me for a while and trying to help me sneak some of my extra things that I bought on the flight. She's like, "Oh, I can show you how to sneak things on." And I was like, "I love this woman."
Hold on. We're coming back here in like 7 seconds. Okay, like 6 seconds now. Here we go with the final half hour Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and yes, I do wear a lot of tinfoil each and every night here. Bring the woo to all of you. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you know what? Our archives are always free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Only thing I ask you for in return is to hit that subscribe button. Yeah. Or we're on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, Jackie Harmon. We're going to skip the Dave 101 this week. I'll be honest with you, I'm too tired. I'm too tired to think. It's been a long week after getting here from Reno, Nevada for the SOR fan party. And then United Airlines deciding to do a song and dance on the tarmac in Reno for 2 hours before we were able to take off, missing my flight back to Vancouver. Then they wouldn't fly me to Vegas to catch a plane to Vancouver. No, got to stay. But they wouldn't pay for my hotel either. No. Called it an act of God. They didn't have to pay. So that was a nice $400 Canadian bill for literally 9 hours in a hotel room. Love paying for that. Thank you, United Airlines. Very much appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm a fan of United.
Well, I'm not a fan of American Eagle either. Yeah. Those are the puddle jumpers.
Have the Southwest probably doesn't go up to Canada.
I don't even know. I don't know.
West.
Yeah. Either way, I'll fly Air Canada next time. It's just easier. It's easier.
Yeah.
Or Allegiant. I've never had trouble with Allegiant. Always gets me to where I need to go. But that's neither here nor there. Jackie.
Yes.
Last night on the show, we talked with Science Bob about the story coming out of the Vatican, where they're about to release a report about the phenomena and ghostly encounters, spiritual encounters, and that people need to use discernment when dealing with this. Not denial, discernment. When you read that article that came out regarding this story, as a paranormal investigator, what were your thoughts?
Well, to be totally honest, for me, I was kind of shocked at first. I actually thought, like, I'm shocked that I'm even reading this. I'm shocked that this is even happening right now. But, and then the more and more I started thinking about it, I thought, maybe I'm not as shocked because of everything going on right now in the world, the UFO sightings, how they're dealing with all of the, apparitions, the situation with acknowledging everything now. I'm more in agreement with what they're actually doing. I actually think that they're more on the modern day life of religion more than I ever thought. So, I mean, what do you think about it?
I'm of a couple of thoughts, okay? A couple of really, really deep thoughts about this. Number one, a few years ago, we heard, before the To the Stars Academy came out, Pope Francis came out talking about extraterrestrial life, believing that it's out there somewhere, and that if aliens came to Earth and he wanted to be baptized, he would have no problem baptizing them. Okay. I thought that was strange.
It's a little strange.
Then the Vatican builds the Lucifer telescope in New Mexico or Arizona, one of the two states down there. And I found that interesting because literally they're looking out into the stars to see if they see anything to do with life. And now this, what confuses me about it, I've talked to a number of religious people about this, and they think that anything that comes from the stars is demonic.
Oh, wow.
Evil. They think that I have, one of my best friends, very Christian man, a good man, a humble man. He prays for me every time I go do a ghost tour.
Ooh.
Because he thinks that I don't know what I'm dealing with, that spirits are demons, that, they're there to manipulate human emotion. That we may not be talking to little Sally or little Bobby or Grandma Edna or whoever, but instead it's a demon that's making it sound like that to win over our openness and eventually jump into our soul and steal it. I've talked to a preacher locally about this. Feels the same way. So the fact that the Vatican is now coming out and stating that these deities are out there, but use discernment and using examples as people have had encounters with Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, Jesus himself, and other apostles and angels and everything, that it's maybe not so far-fetched either way. And I think that, there's 1.6 billion Catholics in the world. That's what, 1/4 or close to 1/4 of the population, 1/4 of the population, maybe probably a little less than that. But seeing that kind of go on, and now having this discussion where they are basically coming out with a report that says, look, spirits and ghosts are around. They are here. We can communicate with them, but you have to be careful. We don't recommend you communicating because you don't know who you're communicating with, but we do recognize that miracles do happen, that people have had communication with these other entities and spirits of religious deities, and it's okay to talk to them.
Absolutely.
It's okay to communicate with them. This opens up a big, big can of worms.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I feel like they've come so far for modern day thinking, because you have so many religions that are just like, oh no, you don't do that, you don't believe that, those things don't exist. And and the funniest thing is, and the one question I've had with religious people when they say things to me in that way is, they say, well, you can't believe that, you don't see it. And I'm like, well, you believe in God, and don't you call him the Holy Spirit? So, I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing, is I'm communicating with spirit. So in a way, we're all doing the exact same thing. They're believing in something they don't see. I actually see spirit. That's a little bit different. Most people don't. But, people who are very sensitive like I am, who see spirit, that there are things beyond us. There are spirits beyond us, and they do teach us. You have spirit guides. Every single one of us has a spirit guide. So you're going to have people who help you through life and teach you, and that are there for you, but they are actually around us all the time. We live within sort of the same space. It's a little bit different, but it's kind of like we're all in the same space. We're sharing space. We're sharing energy. So,
what's it like to see them? What's it like to have that communication?
For me, it's very comforting, I've never dealt with anything in a horrible or a negative way. I have felt in certain places where I am uncomfortable around certain spirits, but never to the point of thinking that something's evil or demonic in any way, shape, or form. But it is very much a comforting feeling of knowing that I know for a fact that when we die, that this isn't it. This isn't the end for us. It's not, we just don't close our eyes one day and that's it. Life's over. It's black and, you're gone. There is more out there. I've learned so much over having that connection with spirit where, I've learned things like you actually get the choice if you want to come back. That's not something that's just automatic. Like you actually have those choices, so you can stay with your family because there are going to be people that meet with you when you pass on. Mainly, those are the people that I see. I have seen many, many spirits in like haunted locations that I'm obviously not related to in any way, shape, or form. And, they want to communicate with us sometimes as much as we want to with them. A lot of times when they know there's someone extremely sensitive or a medium or whatever people want to be called, they know immediately. Like when we even pulled up into Virginia City, even Lee said it, the same exact thing. Once you literally drive over that hill and you start, riding right into the town, it's almost like they know you're there and it's their way of coming out and communicating. So for me, it's always been a positive thing. I feel very comfortable with knowing that, spirit can kind of come in. It's almost like, you're a human portal for spirit to come in and out. And I'm okay with that. It took me a while to get used to it when I was young, but I never had fear. It was always a very comforting feeling for me.
Do you think that this is going to open up with the Vatican when we get their report and figure it out, what it says? Do you think this is going to open up more people to investigating, more people to trying to communicate with the other side?
I do. I absolutely do. I think it's because there are so many Catholics in the world that I feel like they're going to follow suit with the information probably more than anybody. But I do feel like the fact that the Vatican is showing that, look, this is what we're saying is okay. This is what we're accepting. This is what we're saying is out there. Feel free to communicate with that. Just be careful. Listen, I'm the same way. I guess I'm pretty much like Vatican information myself because that's exactly what I tell people. It doesn't matter if you're going ghost hunting, if you're going out looking for Bigfoot. My number one thing is always be careful and be safe. Be cautious of, you don't know exactly what you're talking to sometimes. And that's true. And I agree with that. 100% agree with that. I'm not Catholic, but what they're saying is exactly what I've experienced myself all along. So I'm totally on board with this.
Have you ever had a spirit try and work you over with playing a person or another spirit to gain your trust?
Yeah, I've had many experiences, more in like haunted locations outside of my own personal life. I have had that happen. I have even actually had one spirit basically take over my body, and it was a full-blown like attack on me because I was in a specific hotel. This was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and it attached itself to me. And it was the one and only time, which I think now I understand why. When I left this hotel, normally what I will do before anything else is close out everything that I've done and said and let them know, you cannot come home with me. You cannot follow me. You cannot connect with me or attach yourself to me. And that was the one and only time that I don't remember doing that. And I even went home and thought about it later and thought, that's really weird. I normally do that. Why didn't I do that? But immediately from getting home, I started to change as a person. I became extremely withdrawn, depressed, basically shut down for about 2 months. I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't go anywhere. I basically just stopped communicating with everyone, my family, my friends. Unless you were in my home, I just, that was it for me. I just had nothing else I wanted to go do. It was like I lost all interest of just being happy or living a normal life. And I actually had a really good friend of mine call me and check on me. And she said, "What is going on with you? I haven't heard from you in like 2 months." And I said, "I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me." I said, "Ever since I came back from that hotel that we investigated, I have been nothing but sad, depressed. I've had dark thoughts of even taking my own life. I mean, it got ugly." And she said, "Oh my God, you have an attachment." And the weirdest thing was, I didn't even believe her. Even with everything that she was saying, I thought, no, that can't be. I don't even know why you would say that. And she said, "When did you start feeling like this?" And I told her the day I got home. And she said, "Oh my God, you got to get this off of you." So she's a Reiki master. So I actually ended up going to her house, and thank God I had her to help me, because if not, I don't know how long this would have gone on for. I went over there. She did all kinds of stuff to get this, attachment off of me. And it lasted about probably a good 2 hours of me like laid out on this concrete, trying to get as close to earth with this that I could possibly get. And by the time it was done, I had tears just rolling out of my eyes. It was like I had uncontrollable tears just coming out. And I just said, I feel like myself again. I haven't felt like this in months. And it just blew my mind how much she helped me. And from that moment on, it was like everything that I was going through, I was now like almost like awake to it and realized that there was an attachment on me that I wasn't even aware of. I had no clue. And you would think like you would get it, right? Like I'm a super happy, fun, social person. And all of a sudden I went from that to withdrawn and just like I would lay in bed all day crying, sad, depressed, you name it. It was a bad time. And I couldn't even like wrap my own brain around what was happening. I mean, this spirit literally just completely took over everything about me. Everything. My thoughts, my emotions, my physical body, every single thing. And once it was released, it was like, someone had come in and just opened my eyes to the situation, and I could see it. I could see every single thing at that point that had happened and realized then. But before that, no clue.
We got 2.5 minutes to go before we have to say goodnight to you here on Spaced Out Radio. And Jackie Harmon is our guest tonight on the show with the Cryptid Report. Jackie, looking overall at connecting with spirit, knowing what the Vatican has put out and what they were waiting to see what this report says, do you recommend that if they say try communication, but be careful with your communication, that it is something that somebody should try?
Oh, absolutely. I think that everyone on earth has the ability to communicate with the other side. I think that most adults kind of shut that out. I think it's something that we have at a very early age, but as we grow, we're basically told that these things don't exist, and it's almost like a blockage. So if you are interested in connecting, I 100% say go for it. Try it. Just be very careful because you never know exactly what it is, but be smart about it. But yeah, if you're interested, yeah, connect, because you'll connect.
Connecting is one thing. Having the understanding and the discernment is another.
Well, one of the things that I do recommend for new people, and I've always said this, is reach out to other people who are already doing this. And if you're not understanding of like, how to do it, or what to do, what to say, and the respect of the situation, then there's no reason why you can't reach out to people and learn. There are a lot of people out there who will help. Call me, reach out to me. I'll help you.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. It really is going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because this could go in so many different directions. And let's just hope that people who do want to get into the UFO or the paranormal story or whatever it may be, let's just hope that they remember that it is dangerous.
Yes.
And it is something that you do have to be careful of.
Absolutely. Be safe out there.
1 minute to go. How do you stay safe?
Well, personally for me, like I've said before, this is something that I've dealt with my entire life. I was about 4 years old for me. So you have to remember that number one is respect. You are talking to people who were once human, who have passed on. They, in their own way, think that they're still living, but yet they know they've passed on. So it's like a different life. Just be careful, protect yourself, always walk in knowing that you're there and understanding the respect of the situation. When you leave, close that out. Let them know. Say it specifically. You cannot follow me. You cannot come home with me. I'm here for one reason and one reason only, to connect.
Jackie Harmon, everybody, as we say hello. Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get those horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody. Sit at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat room tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X. Hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home.
That'd be nice.
Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Always got to wait for that one symbol to stop. Good show, Jax.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How are you feeling? Good? You feeling back on track yet?
No, I'm pissed off because Canucks won tonight.
Oh, I am wiped out. I am wiped. I took a nap today. I never nap.
I could use a nap.
I know. I'm about ready to go to bed.
Me too. Me too, buddy. Me the hell too. Appreciate you coming on in.
Of course. I'll always come on for you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we will talk to you next week, my friend.
I will be here.
All right. You take care.
Thanks.
Say hi to Lee for us.
I will.
Boyfriend.
Aw.
Cute. Him it is size small shirts. Oh, he was having a good laugh with that.
Yeah. That boy wears smaller shirts than I do. I got to work on that.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. All right, my friend. You take care.
Bye.
Bye. Jackie Harmon, everybody. She's amazing. Just amazing. I'm going to call it the night here, too, because feeling a little stuffy. Tomorrow night on the show, Jurgen Hess will be here talking about Bradshaw Ranch down in Arizona, down in Sedona, and the weird stuff he's been finding. So we'll have a good night. Thank you to W. Decker and Cosmic Joe for the great super chats. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.